So this is the early access free-to-play game Avalon Lords Dawn Rises. And this video is going to basically be a walkthrough on how to build your base, build some troops, and beat the CPU set to easy mode. What you're going to see in the video, how I play basically, can be used for any game. It can be used in matchmaking mode, it can be used versus a live player, or strictly versus a bunch of CPUs. The basics are the same. It would just be a difference in how fast you build and whether you build defenses around your base or not. So I'm going to use conflict mode for this video because it lets me just do one CPU instead of three. And I'm going to put a password in just so that nobody joins my match like happened the last time I tried to do this video. And so this is basically the conflict mode lobby. As you can see, there's 3 slots on the left and 3 slots on the right. If you were to take these slots and superimpose them over the map, where they are in the slot is where they would be on the map. So this default slot, slot 1 on the left, is basically where the word map is. This slot down here with the purple flag would be this bottom right-hand corner. The only thing that's a little bit different is this slot and this slot are actually reversed on the map. But otherwise, these 3 on the right are 1, 2, 3 down here, etc. So if you're new to the game, I suggest that you stay in the default spot because the resources are closer to the castle in this one, and that you pick the bottom right slot for your CPU. I would also suggest easy difficulty, not normal to start with, because the higher the difficulty level, the faster the CPU comes to try to attack you. For the sake of this video, however, I don't want to have to walk all the way across the map, so I'm going to put the CPU in the top right-hand corner. Now I'm going to go back and edit my game options because there were a couple of things there that I'd really like to change. So because I'm doing 1 versus 1, I am not going to change free-for-all to team for obvious reasons. The duration is whatever. It's not going to take me 2 hours and 21 minutes, but I usually just leave it where it is unless I'm doing something specific in the game. So like if I play 2 Nightmare CPUs, I slide the slider all the way to the left to no limit because it takes a while. If you slide it all the way to the right, it gives you a 3-hour time slot. For 1 CPU on easy, it doesn't really matter. I always, 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 always set my resources to high because honestly, you can never have too much stuff. And the more resources you have, the quicker you can build, the more troops you can build, and the more fun things you can build around your base. Population cap, up to you. For 1 CPU on easy, 300 should be plenty. If you have a lower end computer, I would stay down around the 500 or 300 mark to avoid a lot of lag once you get a lot of troops on the screen. I have a fairly middle of the road, not very impressive laptop, and it can handle unlimited no problem. When I play versus Nightmare, I for sure play on unlimited, but for right now, I'm just going to set it to 300 because it doesn't really matter. I don't usually play with treasures enabled, but I'm going to for this just so you can see how they work. Fog of War, when it's on, the only base you can see on the map is your own. So that means even if I had 5 other players that I was playing against, I would only be able to see where I am on the map. For me, it's not really a problem. I've played the game a lot. I know where everything spawns. But if you're new to the game, I suggest turning Fog of War off. For the sake of this video, I'm going to turn it off so you'll be able to see no problem where the CPU will be. I'm going to set it to private match just so that we don't have spectators. And now we're ready to go. The difference would be if you were playing a live player, you would see a button up here that says ready. So if you want to play versus somebody else, you have to make sure that you click ready. Otherwise, they won't be able to start the match. So this here is the keyboard with a bunch of different hotkeys. The important ones are F3, which sets your troops. You can move the camera with WASD. This should actually say Alt for those of us who are not on Macs, but whatever. Frank Cephalou, Frank Cephalou, Frank Cephalou. Are you happy now, Frank? I mentioned you in a video. Okay, moving on. So we've spawned. There's our castle. It's very pretty. And when the match first opens, you spawn with 3 peasants and 1 scout. The way I play, I immediately left-click the scout and send him over in the direction from which I know my enemy is coming, which in this case is off to the right. So then I right-click the map to send him there, and then I hit F3 on my keyboard, and that changes him to aggressive stance. You can see here in the chat box, the selected units have been set to aggressive. Now I'm going to get rid of the chat box by clicking this button in the top left corner, just because it's easier to see. So what this is going to do is he's going to run over here, and he's going to basically stand guard here. So when my enemy, which is this lovely yellow area over here, sends his scout over to see what I'm up to, which it kind of looks like he might be doing right now, my scout is going to attack his scout and take him out. So now the first thing I always do, because you can do nothing in this game if you don't have enough wood harvested, is I build a sawmill. So to do that, you go up here to the left-hand corner and you click this hammer-like button. That brings up the build menu. Fourth from the left in the city tab is the sawmill. So you left-click that, go over to where you want to place it, and left-click the site on the map. Now, one of these peasants will run over and start building it, and once he's finished building it, he will start harvesting lumber. I like to send the other 2 over there that originally spawned with the castle to help him. So to do that, I left-clicked and dragged until there was a white square over the 2 of them. Now they're selected, as you can see. I move the cursor over the build bar. It shows a hammer, and then right-click to send them there. If they're walking too slowly and I want to hurry them up, I hit the R key on my keyboard, and they run. So now those 3 peasants are going to build that sawmill, and then they're going to start harvesting trees. Now I'm going to click on my castle, and I'm going to build 4 more peasants. Why 4, you ask? Because you start with 5 population to build. As you can see, I have 3 civilian population, 1 military, which is my scout, and I have 1 free. So I've built 1, so now I can build the 5th. So that's going to give me 5 peasants to work with because I don't have any houses. So as you can see, I now have 0 population to build from. The next thing I like to do is I like to build a farm. That's the first one on the left. I like to rotate the farm slightly so it's at an angle to the castle. To rotate a building before you place it, you want to use the K and L keys until you get it where you want it. Now this might be all in my head, but I find if I rotate a building a little bit and place it on an angle, I can put it closer to my castle than if I leave it perpendicular or parallel to my castle. So as you can see, this peasant is going to go build the farm. I'm going to send 1 more over there to help him because you can really never have too much food. And proximity to the castle for things like the farm and the mines is very important because what's going to happen is these guys are going to build that farm, then they're going to harvest the crops and bring the crops back to the castle. And not until they've come back to the castle with their harvest will it show up here in my food resources. So up here are basically the resources that you're going to use to play the game. You've got wood, you've got stone, you've got iron, gold, food, and then your population. So right now we have 0 population. So I'm going to build some houses next. So I'm going to go to the build menu. The house is the second one from the left, as you can see. And now because I'm lazy when I play the game, and I don't like having to open the build menu a bunch of times, I'm going to hold down the shift key before I place the house. And I'm going to left click to place the house, and then because I have the shift key held down, I don't have to open the build menu again. Now, as you saw when I placed that house, it was green, and this one is red. So what that's telling me is that I'm too close to another structure. So I need to move that house slightly until it turns green, and then I can place it. And I move it till it turns green, and I'm going to build 4 houses because that's enough for now. So if it's red, you're too close to another structure to build it. If it turns purple, you've moved it somewhere where you can't actually place a building, for example, in the pond that I've put it. And if it turns blue, like it's doing right now, it means that you are too far away from any other built structure and you need to move back closer to your built structure. See how it's green? So I can build it here, but I can't build it here. I'm going to click to make it go away. Now let's say I built too many houses and I'd like to get rid of one. Then I'm going to click the house if the peasants would get out of the way. And then I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard and it's going to delete that house. Okay, so I'm going to build a couple more because I actually did want the house, but it was for the sake of So now we have some population. I'm going to build a barracks. So I'm going to go to the build button. So from the build menu, we've been in the city tab this whole time building stuff. We're going to go over to the military tab, which is the middle one. We're going to choose the barracks to build next. I'm going to build the barracks over here. I'm going to rotate it a little bit. And I'm going to put it down right there. So now one of those peasants that was building houses will run over and build that for me. I'm going to build a few more peasants because we've got some more population. And now I'm going to build some mines. So like I said to you before, there are 5 basic resources that need harvesting in the game: wood, stone, iron, gold, and food. Food comes from the farm. Not really a shocker. Wood from the sawmill. This is the iron node. This is the stone node. And this is the gold node. Each slot or each base that spawns will have one of these 3 nodes when it spawns. So all you need to do is build a mine on them to harvest them. So build button again. The mine is this one in the city tab. And then if you hold down shift, you don't have to keep opening the build menu. You move the mine over till it turns green, then you left click to place it. So let's say I want to build this mine and see how it's turned red? I cannot, no matter how many times I click, it won't build there because it's too close in proximity to the castle. So I have to find a spot where it turns green and then I click. So you could be done right there. You can build 1 mine per resource. I like to build 2. I don't know if it really helps, but it's how I play. So I'm just going to spin this mine around using the K button. You could also use the L button. Actually, I'm going to spin it one more time. Then I'm going to place 1 more mine on each of the resource nodes. And as you can see, peasants are going to run to go build them. Now, if you want more peasants for each one, you have to send the peasants there. This is a muster flag. You can move it to wherever you want your peasants to spawn. I usually just leave it in front of the castle unless I'm building some fancy defense around the castle. So now that this peasant has spawned, I can left click him. And then if I want to send him to the farm to harvest some more food, I hover over the farm till I see the pickaxe, and then I right click the farm. And as you can see, he'll go over there. Now I'm going to send this peasant over to the iron mine because the iron is a little further away from the castle and is going to take longer to harvest. Now, we talked about enabling the treasure chests on the map. So I'm going to left click a peasant, and then I'm going to go find a treasure chest, and I'm going to hover over it till I see the pickaxe, and then I'm going to right click the treasure chest. And then I'm going to hit R so that he runs over and we don't have to wait for him. These treasure chests each contain some amount of resources. So that one, for instance, had food in it. The only way you can really tell is if you watch your resources to see which one goes up when the peasants open it. So those are really handy if you are not used to the game and you run out of a resource. I don't personally use them anymore, but they do come in very handy. So I'm going to send you over there. So now keeping an eye on the resources, as you can see, we have at least 1,000 of every resource. To upgrade our castle to level 2, we need 1,000 of everything but iron. So since we're good to go, we're going to upgrade. The only problem when you upgrade is you can't train any peasants or any troops while you're upgrading. So make sure that you've already trained whatever you need to train before you hit upgrade. Now I'm going to go back over to my barracks and I'm going to build some troops. First I'm going to take my muster flag and I'm going to wait till it turns white on the map and I'm going to right click. And see how that moved that over there? Crow in the way. So now when I spawn some troops, let's do 4. All these troops are going to come over here and stand here and wait orders. I always try to send my troops or spawn my troops in the direction that I know my enemy is going to attack from so that they're ready and waiting over there. Now I'm going to build a couple more houses because you can never have too much population. So build house. Oh, got to spin him around so he looks right with the others. I hold the shift button, place him so that I don't have to keep opening the build menu. I'm sure that's plenty. So now the castle has upgraded to level 2. So we can train some more peasants. And when we click on the castle to train some more peasants, we find out that now there are researches that we can do. So Town Watch in this case is pretty much redundant because I do not have Fog of War turned on. If you have Fog of War turned on, Town Watch lets you see further away from your base. But since we don't need it this time, I'm not going to research it. The other one is Cargo Packs, and as you can see, this upgrades your resource gathering by 15%. So this one is very worth doing. So I'm going to click that. As you can see, it's researching. I'm going to click the peasant for peasants. And now we're going to build a blacksmith. It's the very first one now because it moves the farm over. And I'm going to put it right there. Next, we need to build, well, I was going to say a university, but we're a little low on gold. So instead, we're going to build a warehouse. And like I said before, the iron node is a little far away from the castle. And since the proximity to the castle affects how quickly your peasants gather the resources, you can use a warehouse to speed that up. So there's the green spot, put it there. Now there's going to be some peasants that are going to come build that for me in a few minutes. So then these guys at the iron mine, instead of walking all the way to the castle, are going to walk to the warehouse. And so will this stone mine. The only one that doesn't collect at the castle is the sawmill. So if you had trees, I don't know, way down here, let's say you wanted to build a sawmill down here, you don't have to worry that they're going to run all the way back to the castle. They're just going to run to wherever you put the sawmill down here. Everything else, however, goes to the castle to collect. So if you take a farm and you build it way over here, those peasants are going to have to run all the way back here once they harvest. Because if you watch, the resource doesn't go up until the peasants hit the castle and drop it off. Now, there's one other thing that I like to do. This is kind of my own little thing. I don't know if everybody does it. I always do it because I like to have a lot of resources. So I send a few extra peasants to different mines. And then I zoom out a little bit. And I left click this corner up here and drag. So I still have the left mouse button depressed. And see this big kind of opaque white square that forms? So this is going to select every peasant within that square. So now I let go, and all these peasants are selected. Now I'm going to come down here and see all these little plus signs. So these are little buttons that you can use to create armies with, or in this case, my peasant army. And I'm going to click that one. So I always click the one furthest to the right so that I don't get it confused with armies that I might create later, and I stay to the left with those. So now with all these peasants selected, I'm going to hit the R key on my keyboard, and they are all going to run to harvest what they're harvesting. So basically it allows you to harvest things a little faster than their normal speed. So now that this warehouse is built, see these iron peasants? They come to the warehouse instead of going to the castle. So that means that I'm going to accumulate iron a lot faster than I was before. So now we should be able to build a university. The blacksmith and the university are very important because you need to do the researches there. The blacksmith, because I have only a barracks built, I can research things that are going to increase my infantry damage in this case and defense. Once I build an archery range, which I'm going to do right now, I will be able to do researches that will affect my archers. So the archery range is the one to the furthest left. I'm just going to spin it because I know that the troops are going to spawn out of this, what's now the bottom. And I got to move it until it turns green because otherwise it's too close to the barracks. And the peasant's going to go build that. I'm going to take my muster point, move it over here by my swordsman. And now that we're at a level 2 castle, I can upgrade my barracks so that I can train more than just swordsmen. Now that the blacksmith is built, if you go and you click on each of the different resources, you'll see that there's a research that you can do. So, for example, this one's going to improve farming. Anything you can do to improve the amount of resources you collect is worth doing. So if you go through and you click on the mines, they have their own researches. And then you go to the sawmill, it also has its own research. You can do those at castle level 2 and at castle level 4. And in the meantime, we can click on the blacksmith because we've built our archery range. So now I can research iron arrows, leather armor for my archers. Blah. I'm going to build some archers. So as you can see, these are short bow archers. They're fairly cheap to build. They only need 5 population. And they're basically your T1 archer. Then I'm going to click upgrade. So I upgrade my archery range. Over here at the university, I've got some stuff I can research. In order to upgrade my castle to level 3, I have to research masonry. Agriculture is also a good one because you can never have enough food because every time you train troops or peasants, they use up food. Then I'm going to go back to my barracks, which is upgraded to level 2, and you can see swordsmen are my tier 1 troop that I can train here. They only take 5 population, a little bit of food and an iron. And then you've got veteran swordsmen, which take 10 population and a bit more iron, gold, and food. So I'm going to train 4 of those. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to upgrade my houses. If you're low on resources, sometimes it's better to simply build more houses rather than upgrading. Because to build a house only costs 200 wood, but to upgrade, as you can see, it's 250 wood, 100 stone, and 150 gold. So when I'm low on resources, I just build more instead of upgrading. And you do not need a peasant to upgrade your houses. So I'm going to send him over to the farm and put him to work because he's in my way. And I'm going to keep upgrading some more houses. I have plenty of resources, so I'm going to do all my houses, but you can do 1, 2, 3, upgrade, however many you have the resources to do or want to do. Then I'm going to go over here, and my masonry has finished researching. So now I can upgrade my castle, as long as I have 2,000 of each of the resources required, which I do. So now we're going to wait while it upgrades. Click on the blacksmith, nothing to do there. But let's build some tier 2 archers. So tier 1 archer, short bow, tier 2, longbow. Longbows have a longer range, they're a bit hardier, but they also cost more to produce. Tier 1 troops are always your cheap troops. Tier 2 gets a little more expensive, and tier 3 are fairly expensive and take a lot longer to produce. So the yellow CPU has come to attack me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click, select all these troops, like so, as you can see highlighted. Then I'm going to hit the control button on my keyboard. Not only does it show you the range of fire for the archers, but it also brings up these little pluses to create an army. So if you'll remember, over on the right side, we created our peasant army for sake of convenience. So I'm going to use the far left, the number 1 slot, to create this army. Then while they're still selected, I'm going to go and hit the key F3. And as you can see, they automatically run to go and defend the base and take out those archers. And that's kind of the idea. Now, I always set a bunch of troops around my base on F3 for defensive purposes. When I go to attack the other castle, however, I do not use F3, because if the other castle has defenders of any kind and your troops are set to F3, they won't keep going to the castle. They will stop and attack the other troops and usually wind up dying as a result. So I'm going to send this peasant over here to, oh, I need some more gold. I'm going to get him to harvest some gold. And then I'm going to click 10, which was our peasant army, remember? And I'm going to hit R, and they're all going to run and harvest some resources faster for me. So now that we're at castle level 3, we can go back to the university, and we can research metallurgy and architecture. And once those 2 researches are complete, we can upgrade the castle to level 4. As you can see, until we upgrade to level 4, or until metallurgy finishes, there's not much we can do with the blacksmith yet. So I'm going to build a few more troops. Oh, and I'm going to upgrade the archery range. And I'm going to upgrade the barracks because, you know, why not? I'm going to move these guys out of the way. Change that spawn point over here. So at this point, we have castle level 3. We've researched masonry. So we can click the defense tab and we can build archery towers. Archery towers are maybe a bit of a misnomer at this point because you can even put siege engines up in them. So I could build a siege engine workshop and I could put trebuchets in those towers if I chose to. Once we have a level 3 castle, you can see we can do some more research. We can upgrade handcart to increase resource gathering by 30%. Always a good thing to increase your resource gathering. We should be able to click blacksmith. Yes. So again, we can upgrade damage caused by the archers. We can upgrade their armor. And we can upgrade the damage caused by our infantry and their armor. So now we have a level 3 archery range, which lets us build crossbows, which are our tier 3 troop and cost 10 population and a fair bit more resources to train. They also take a lot longer to train. And over here at the barracks, our tier 3 troop is pikemen, and again, 10 population, but a little more resources and a little longer to train. Now, since I'm only playing versus an easy level CPU, I'm not going to bother building a siege weapon workshop or a stables to train cavalry. But I will show you how to put archers in the tower. I'm going to take these longbows and left click them till it's lit up. And I'm going to hover over the tower till I see a pickaxe. And I'm going to click. And presto, archers in the tower. Anytime your archers are higher up, you get a better range or more of a range. So it definitely is not a bad idea if you think you're going to have to defend your base to build some towers. The other thing you can build to help defend your base are walls. So you click the defense tab, then you click wall. And I'm actually going to build it over here because I don't really need a wall. So you're going to left click to start the wall. And then you're just going to move your mouse. And then you're going to left click again. Now you can, at this point, you can keep going and change the direction of the wall to wherever you want it and drag it again. Or you can simply go up here to accept, and then peasants are going to come build this wall. Back over here, all our researches are done, so we can upgrade the castle again to level 4. Oh, no, we can't because we don't have enough gold. So we're going to send these two by left clicking and selecting. Select. Got to come find the gold mine back here. Click those guys, send them there. Hit R so they move faster. Then I'm going to hit number 10 down here, which is all my peasants, and hit R so everybody runs a little faster. And we're going to see if we have enough gold. Close, not quite. Okay, now we have enough gold. So we're going to upgrade the castle to level 4. And now we have some other researches we can do. We can do engineering, which is going to reduce the build time of siege engines. So I'm not going to do that because I'm not building a siege engine workshop. Fortification, which is going to increase the building health by 50%. Again, I don't need to do that because the CPU is not going to get anywhere near any of my buildings. I'm a little low on population, so I'm going to upgrade some of my houses again. These are level 2 houses. We're going to take them up to level 3. And as you can see, that's going to increase my population cap by 60 each house that upgrades. I think that's probably enough. Castle's almost done. So once the castle is done and it's up to level 4, presto, now you can go back and click on each of your resources and research again to speed up resource gathering again. And like I've said before, and I'm sure I'll say again, you can never have too much stuff. So any researches you can do that are going to upgrade how fast your peasants gather stuff, do them. Do them, do them, do them. And now we should also have some more researches maybe we can do in the, oh no, we don't. Oh, right, here we go. So now we're going to do Avalonian steel, which is then going to let us do more upgrades at the blacksmith. So troops. You've got tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Longbows have the best range. Crossbows are armor piercers, but only medium range. I really like crossbows, even though they take a little bit longer to build. I like the rate of fire, and I like the strength that they have. Barracks, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I rarely build pikemen because for me they are more of a cavalry killer. I usually stick with veteran swords. If I need a ton of troops fast, I go with swordsmen because you can churn out a lot of swordsmen in a very short period of time. So now that my peasants have built this wall, I can select a piece of the wall, and then it says trainable units, but really what it's going to do is it's going to build a gate. And you need a peasant nearby to do this. So make sure that if you're building a gate, you're not in the process of being attacked, because when a gate is building, it's very vulnerable to attack. So you want to build your gate before you get attacked. And you need either a gate or you need to dismantle a piece of wall in order to get your troops out if you surround your base with walls. So now once the gate is built, I can click the gate and I can upgrade it, or I can lock it so that nobody comes in. So those are the basics. I'm going to move these guys over here because I don't need them there. So now that we've done our researches and our castle's upgraded, we can do some more. So this again is an archer improvement. This is a defensive improvement, sword improvement, defensive armor improvement. There are other resources, other researches you can do depending on what you want to do, but I don't need those for what we're doing. And our castle's at our max level, so all we could really do is train more peasants. So that's pretty much the basics of base building. If I was playing versus a live player, I probably would have taken this wall and built it starting over here by the water, because troops can't walk on water. So you really, this is a nice natural barrier here against your enemies. I would also build a lot more towers, but since I'm not playing against another player and I'm playing on easy CPU, I'm not going to bother. So now I have all these troops and I might as well use them. So I'm going to left click and drag so that that opaque white square covers all my troops. Let go, and you can see everybody's highlighted. So then I'm going to hit the control key and I'm going to choose the second one. All those purple circles show you the range of fire of the archers. So now that I have all those troops selected, I'm going to go over to the mini map and I'm going to click the mini map, and that takes me to the CPU's base. So as you can see, the CPU only has a level 3 castle built, so it's been building a little slower than we were. So because all these troops are still selected, I'm going to right click right in front of the castle, and then I'm going to hit R, and they're going to run over here, and then I'm going to make them attack the castle. So as you can see, the CPU is building a little strangely, but it's built a market where I didn't bother. You can build a market if you want, but unless you're playing versus a live player, you don't really need it. They have built a siege workshop. So when I'm attacking, usually I don't bother to attack the enemy barracks, or which are way up here. That's the archery range. There's stables. The barracks will be down below. But because this is right in the way on my way to the castle, I'm going to click number 2 down here, which is going to select all my troops, and I'm going to get them to burn that down on the way to the castle, just so that I don't have any siege engines attacking me while I'm attacking their castle. And here come my troops. And you can also see on the mini map all these troops that are coming to attack. So as you can see here, there's a red bar and a green bar for each troop. The red bar is the troop health. The green bar is the stamina. Stamina really only affects the troops when you want them to charge or run by hitting the R button. So they can run until their stamina is used up, and then they slow right back down again. And as you can see, with that many troops versus one building, it doesn't take much to kill them. And there it goes. So now we're going to move on and hit the castle. I'm going to get everybody to run over there if they can. And the CPU is going to build something over here. You can see it going up. While all that's happening, this little question mark button over here shows you navigation and hotkeys, different units, buildings, and it also lets you report bugs. So let's say you find a bug. Whether you know for sure it's a bug or not, you can always report it. It's better to report things and have them not be bugs than to not report them and have them get missed. So basically how you use this is you write a title. So let's say the CPU built up against the edge of the map again. Then you could go down here and you could say CPU player building barracks too close to water, so its troops spawn but don't go anywhere. And then you would hit send, and as you can see, it sends a screenshot and your output log file automatically with the message. And it also has the date. I'm not going to file this because that was just an example, so I'm going to hit cancel. It takes us back to this menu. Close because we're not doing it. If you want to surrender, that's also the place you go. Settings. I'm sorry, that was a lie. That was not also the place you go. Settings, which is a little gear, is where you go if you want to surrender. I'm not going to surrender. I'm obviously going to win. While you're attacking a building or the castle, you can click it with the left click, and it shows you how much health it has left. As you can see, we're rapidly destroying this castle. The flames are a nice trick. So then we double click, send everybody over here again. And that's basically it. There are a few other tips and tricks, but the more you play the game, the more you'll figure that stuff out for yourself. And like I said, this is just how I play the game. You don't have to do exactly what I just did to beat the CPU, especially on easy. There's a million different ways to build your base, but this is how I do it, and hopefully it helps. I don't ever build defenses when I play versus the CPU, especially if I play versus low-level CPUs, because I know that I can just build enough troops to defend. So there we go. I've achieved a victory. Now I'm going to click leave. And it's going to take me to a summary of my match. So as you can see, I did 22,000 worth of damage and the CPU did not a lot. And here on this screen, it shows me how many units I lost, how many I killed, how many civilians I killed versus how many I lost, damage received, damage dealt, how many buildings I built, how many buildings I killed, how many buildings I lost, how many resources I mined, gathered, whatever. And then here it shows you how much XP you got for the match. I didn't kill very many squads, so I didn't get very much XP. If I had been playing a different match where I got more XP, it probably would have told me that I had honor available, and then I could have gone over to my specialization tree and chosen to spend my honor on any of these different things. So that's about it. Hopefully that helps at least some of you.